Good evening. A couple of things I want to just talk about before we get started tonight. First of all, somebody pointed out the gap underneath the arches here. Can you see it right there? I don't know if I can make it more obvious. There you are. That's the most obvious I can make it. Do you see that gap? It's because I glued on the brass slots, so the board is resting on this, so I've got to shave off, sand off just a little bit on the top. You can see the same gap there, so if I slice a little bit off the top, or probably the bottom, and reduce this, that will go down. So that's what that is. Second little job, you see the screw on the bench there? Do you remember we just fitted a chip into the class 40? I would lay money on that being that 8th screw I couldn't find. Now whether it fell out when I took the body off or fell out after I put it in, I don't know. So we really should put that back. That or put it somewhere I know where it is. Then I pointed out that I didn't have wheels on one of the wagons, and I said I thought I'd used it to clear plaster. Look at this, it's plaster all over it. Almost looks like it's been to a weathering shop. I'm going to clean that up. If it really is just plaster, it should come off with water. But these wheels are pretty shot, and I can't find the other set. But, dun, 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 dun. Here is a four-wheel coach. Now, here's what I have in mind. It hasn't ever run, I don't think. There are some wheels. There is a space for wheels. There is a hut. If I take the hut away and put the carriage there, we're right next to the hotel, which is missing right now. What about a camping coach? It would go sideways on probably, or somewhere there. If we make a camping coach scene and the camping is tied to the hotel, that might give us a use for this rather nice little carriage. Or what would you do with the little hut that used to be there? Well, guess what? Remember this? Perfect fit. So now that might become the cover for those wires at the back. Do you see this? Like that. Keeping my brick bunker for another use. Who knows what might happen now? Well, there's enough little jobs around the layout for one day, isn't there? I think the little coach sounds like a good idea. I have at least 3 of these. There's another variant of that, and I know there are a couple of blue ones somewhere as well. There's the box they're in. The locomotive, I think, is still in there. That's a partial train set that sits on the top shelf. So we have enough of those little carriages. I think we can butcher one of them. Yes, why not? The first thing will be separating the underframe from the carriage itself. We don't need that. There's 4 clips. Do you see them there? So let me get the carriage itself off. Yeah. You probably have to do all 4 at once, do you? No? Oh, that was easy. There we go. Of course, the weight. Well, there you are. That was easy peasy. Now we've got, it's what could I do with the chassis? But let's get these wheels out. Do they come out easily without breaking them? You don't want to know. Bigger screwdriver. Much bigger screwdriver. Yeah. There we are. If you didn't want them out, they'd fall out. They're not quite the right thing. Let's see if they're close. They're a bit smaller. Let's try one pair in the wagon. Yeah, they look like they're going to work. They're a little small. Let me just get one of the other wagons. Well, I like the flanges on these better than these are the rather large flanges. But I wonder if the distance from the center to the rim, I think they'll be all right. We'll get another one off. We'll put the other one in and see. All right, how did I do that? Once you've done one, they're easy. Now, before we go any further, let's just get the plaster out of there. Is that plaster? Yeah, it is. A bit in there too. Yeah, plaster for the tramway was absolutely a bad idea. It was only in the video a couple of days ago, but yeah, this is from years and years ago too. It's coming off. What 00 Bill calls a manky brush is going to come in handy for that. What I'm talking about is I filled up the gap in between the rails and either side of the rail with plaster for the tramway through the town. Very bad idea. Here I am looking, there's two more wagons there, look at that. Now the difference is, because it's plaster, just a bit of a wet brush is going to get the plaster off. If that indeed is what it is, and I'm sure it is. It's everywhere. This is what was happening on the trams. The trams would end up with this fine white dust all over them, and they were just picking it up from the tracks. Did that get it? I think so. Yeah. And inside here is just dust. It's been sitting on the layout, hiding with no wheels, with screws in it. Oh, delivery man's arrived. Hear the dog barking. And even after all that, we've still got a couple of bits there. Yeah, no idea. Oh, another bit there. Do you see it? Amazing. I mean, that's really years. Now, there's a couple of hooks on this as well. I wonder if I can get those off easily. They fall off when you don't want them to, and then you can't get them off when you want them. And now it has a hook each end. Well, since this one's got one missing as well, let's steal the one off the other end of that. Now, how do they fall off? I just actually broke the plastic on this end trying to get it off. And then this one. Is it going to fall out? They do fall out. How do they fall out if you can't get them out? I don't know. Broke that one too. All right, now you have a nice new hook. There we are, two of them. The acid test will be, well, they're identical height. What I was wondering is, with the new wheels, would there be a different height? But they're not. Still a little bit of plaster I'm seeing right there. Where's my brush gone? And dust you out too. I mean, these are cheap, nasty trucks, but they'll look all right when you get a bit of a load in them or something. Right. Yeah. You are dusty. Look at you. You need cleaning up. Look at the other end. Covered in dust. Make me sneeze. All right, there we go. Now, do you keep it or don't you? Of course you do. There's some buffers there. They might be useful. I am not putting this one on the layout. It's got those track pins that go everywhere. This will derail the moment I turn my back. I'll tip that out somewhere first. Now then, there's a train. Now I'm told, thanks from Charlie at Chadwick, that that colour are fitted. Yeah, and if they were fitted, they would tend to be fitted, meaning they have proper braking systems. They would have gone at the front of the train. Well, guess what? They're at the back of the train, so presumably their brakes aren't working, and so we need a guard's van on the end. But we do have a couple of extra wagons. There they are. I know there's more of those somewhere. I just know it. I just don't know where. Well, now what we're going to do needs a label on it of some sort. Don't need a silver roof either. It would be an old used carriage. This looks pristine and shiny. I wonder if that comes off. I bet it did once, did it? Or is it it's probably been glued on. But we can paint that that roof a different colour. The other thing we can do is make it look like it's a camping cabin. Now I was about to hack these clips off so that it would sit flat, but it may be better sitting up a little bit, and then we can put some steps up. Let's have a look. Yeah, so now the extra ballast makes some sense. Let's put this in there. Yeah, I could sit it flush. I think somebody's having a birthday trip, and that's why he's sitting sideways so he can watch the trains go by. Let's pop that up there. I think we're on to something. Now, does it need to go down or not? Let's have a look. I think it does. What's the worst that can happen? Worst that can happen, I have to glue them back on again, but I think it needs to go down a little bit. It would probably be up on blocks, but we'll do that. Paint the roof and cut the lugs off. Well, this paint is not going on at all well, but we will put it on anyway. The roofs on these kinds of camping facilities were always a little bit suspect, looking a little bit more like tarpaulin than actual roofs. Oh, that looks terrible. What have I done wrong? Didn't rough it up. Well, it looks rough now. Yeah. Make it look like you meant it. Yes. After the success of painting a zebra crossing and giving everything a try, and nothing's working. Advice in the comments. You know it's coming. Need it or not. There's probably a primer or something, is there, that you're supposed to use? You know what? This is bad enough that I'm about ready to wipe it all off and start again. But we'll keep going for now, just in case it suddenly miraculously changes its mind and starts sticking. It isn't. All right, we'll give it one more minute. Insanity is defined as trying the same thing over again and expecting a different result. Not sure why it's not working. It might be that it's too shiny. I'll be back. You're not going to. I am. Will it work? I have no idea. We could end up having to make a new roof. It's 150 grit. I'd prefer something a little bit less coarse. You're going to sand the detail away. There isn't anything of significance on there. And I'm going to stick a chimney on the top in a minute too. Now, careful. And the other end, be careful. The carriage itself is a little too pristine to be a camping coach. But let's get the roof painted first. I think that's I can always mess up one side, and if it goes terribly wrong, just flip it around. So I do have that, and remember, I've got a bunch of them. Something's happening. Now, I don't want to blow because this dust is going to go everywhere. There must be a way that everybody knows about except me. Right. Let's clean the mess up. That's enough for now. And back to paint. Right. Is it going on any better now? Not really. Oh, it is. May need several coats. Don't dab. Look, I put the brush in the paint. Look. It must have happened while I wasn't watching. Let's see how much mess I can make. Is this going to work out in the end? We usually find a way of making it work, don't we? Can I blame me or the paint or both, or what? Got a rough old roof now, so why is that not sticking? You can be so careful not to run down the side and get it all over the side of the carriage. There were some of these in Ireland. Not these carriages, but there were some camping coaches. And of course there's the, I think there still are, aren't there, at Dawlish, or just along the coast there from Dawlish. Never really fancied it. We used to have a caravan, but I always feel sorry for the carriage being parked at the side. If it has a soul, it must weep every time a train goes by. We did park our caravan very close to a railway line on one occasion. It was fun for about the first hour. And after that, it became a pain in the neck. Not because we were kept awake or anything, because I kept jumping up and going outside to see what train was going by. West Coast Main Line too. You could see the trains going by at speed. That's going back some years. Well, that's something of the effect I'm looking for, just as well, because that's the effect you've got, boy. Looks a bit like a tarp has been thrown over it, and now I've got to get the ends on this. Don't know how I'm going to do that. There's a lot of paint on that brush. Oh, poop. All right. There's an app for that. So one of these. It gets it off if you're quick. Maybe I should put the paint on with one of these. Actually not a bad idea. Let's see what happens if I do that. Yeah. Instead of using a 4-inch paintbrush, I was about to stick my finger on the roof to steady it. I am making a mess, people. I just want everybody yelling at me, well, it's not the way to do it. Well, I've never done it before. Bit of paint there, we'll get that in a minute. Let's turn this thing around. Now that is not paint, that's dust. Why are you painting in a dusty environment? Well, so that you can see it. And if it gets a bit textured, that will be just fine. I really want to, let's do it this way up. I really want to lean my finger on something. So that I've got a little bit more stability. Now, my wife says I'm not stable at all, so that's all right. Right. I'm doing my best to keep you in shot. I may have to zoom in and crop it or something, because I know I'm right down there, but I can't get any further away. Easily, anyway. Looks like somebody's dragged a piece of canvas over the roof, nailed it to the side of the carriage. There is a 10-ton van, I think it's in Ireland as well. You can tell I'm I've spent quite a bit of time in Ireland. The 10-ton van somewhere out in the countryside that's been turned into one of those room share places. What do they call that stuff? You know what I mean. And the pictures look rather lovely. I don't think I'd want to, again, I don't think I'd want to spend an awful lot of time in it, because it's really tiny in Ireland, and the outside space looked lovely, but in Ireland, well, anywhere in the UK and British Isles and that whole region, you would have to take rain into consideration, wouldn't you? Creases there, look, see, I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leave those creases in. All right. It looks like a 12-year-old painted it. I'm messing it up now. This is one of those where somebody's going to say, just leave it alone. Does it look better after I've messed with it than before I've started? Those creases have gone away, so the paint is doing what paint does. All right, let's leave that alone for now. Just leave it to dry and we'll get on with something else in the meantime. Now, while the paint's drying, I've been through my junk box and found a piece of pavement that is exactly the same length as that carriage. So I'm taking the precautionary measure of painting the edge of it grey. Well, there we are. So if I pick up the train by the ends and stand it there, that doesn't look too bad. There would be a fancy planter or something outside it, wouldn't there, just to make it look better than it really is. Now, earlier the dogs were barking, and this is what was being delivered. Hot wire foam cutting tool. Shall we open it and have a look, see what we got? Oh, not a box opening. I didn't mean to, honestly, I really didn't. But I thought you'd like to see it. Ooh, blue. 4-in-1. Well, let's see what's in it, shall we? You gotta make the noise, ready? Ooh. Come on, together. Ooh. All right, let's see what we got here. Oh, they're being silly now. Tape measure. I don't know. We'll see. I'll put it together rather than bore you with this. I will read the instructions and I will have a look, see. Wire brush. What on earth do you need a wire brush for? Let me guess. Something gets sticky and goes everywhere. Well, we'll see what happens. This is to cut the foam that we've been using for the hillsides. Well, the first thing is there's a handle, the electrical connection on one end, and in the other, I don't know if you can see down there, there are 2 pips. Anyway, they're in there. And they line up with 2 prongs on this. You see that? And there's a guide, which can only go in one way. And then there's a filament that goes between those, which are stored in here. And there's how many of them are there? There's half a dozen or so. That really is a tape measure. And that really is a double-ended pen, so you can mark things out. There's a wand. I'm guessing that just gets hot like a soldering iron. You can carve with it. And this end is just a longer one. And then this one over here just goes the other way. One's that way, one's that way. Probably we will try that one first. There is a wire brush because, as I guessed, the filament needs to be kept clean. But that seems to be about it. and a wall wart. Something that plugs in. I'm going to have a look and see what this thing's rated at. It says... can't read it. I'm sure you can. 2.5 amps at 5 volts or 6 volts or something. Sounds about right. So, we will have a play. Well, everything fits in there quite nicely. There's even room for the unopened instructions. I will read those before I give it a play. Yeah, I'm happy. So now, as well as slicing my fingers on rather weird knives, I can burn them as well. I expect that will be very useful when we start cutting there. This hill isn't made with that stuff, and I did have a significant amount of trouble cutting that. And even the piece here that I cut for you the other day, I was really struggling in the end. Actually, it goes everywhere. You get little bits. So once we come to shaping, I think that tool will be rather handy. We'll see what it looks like when the paint dries. But for right now, we're well on the way to having a camping carriage. Now, I wouldn't say a stroke of genius or anything like that. It was half in my mind already. The last time I got one of those little 4-wheel coaches out. What can I do with these? We're not going to run them on the layout. So yeah, I hope it works out. We'll have a look later and see if we can't finish it up. See you tomorrow.